Our next speaker will not take credit for being the architect and driving force behind the FA Tesco Skills Programme, but others will say that he did just that. Prior to that, Martin had a background in sports development and coaching prior to moving to the FA. Martin Preston.
Morning, everybody. Pleasure to be here. I thought I might get to Manchester at some point when the sun was out, but alas, it's not happened today. Just to reiterate some of the key messages this morning from some of the other speakers, I'm not going to apologise for doing that. There will be some themes that are obviously going to come out during the day. Changing landscape, massive opportunity, massive challenge. How do we create a sustainable legacy? And what's the connection between teaching and teachers and coaching and coaches? So what I'm just going to do over the next 20 minutes or so is just run through, starting off with some background around the FA Tesco Skills Programme, give you a feel for what the coaches do and how they do it, give you a feel for how they're trained in terms of their role in primary schools and supporting and helping to upskill primary teachers. I'm going to show you a few clips and some footage. I am going to embarrass him, James Burton there, over on the end. So our team leader for the Cheshire and Liverpool team. So James isn't the star of the clips. The primary teacher that he's working with is. And I'll just explain some context there when we get into that point. And then just to finish off with giving you a feel for some of the feedback that we've had from primary teachers. And then I think there'll be an opportunity, if I get my timing right, for you just to ask any questions if you'd like to. Okay, so the FA Tesco Skills Programme was created in 2007. A number of challenges, in sport and certainly in football. But the main purpose for the programme is to help children develop holistically. And you've heard that theme already this morning. It's not the be-all and end-all for us that children become fantastic football players. We want them to enjoy sport, physical activity, healthy lifestyles, and we want to try and help them gather some of the basics, some of the qualities, the fundamentals that are going to help them enjoy sport and PE wherever they take it, and if they've got some potential and the motivation to try and take it further, that we've given them a really good head start with that. So, child-centred, the coaches are trained to focus on the child's needs. They're trained to focus on each individual child, even if there's a class of 30 children, and obviously that takes quite a lot of effort and quite a lot of skill, and I'll come back to that. What's happened since 2007 is that the coaches have increasingly been asked by grassroots coaches, teachers and parents and young leaders for help and guidance and support. So we've gradually built on that, and we've gradually supported our coaches to be able to do that in a much more effective way. And as I say, I'll touch on what training they've had. So just to give you a feel for at the moment, we've got nearly 160 coaches that are out dotted across the country from Kent to Dorset up to Cumberland who are working full-time for the FA. Probably quite unique part of their role is that they coach for 20 to 25 hours a week, and the rest of their time is professional development, planning their sessions, reflecting on their sessions, and working and getting time with their colleagues, peer observation, feedback, that type of thing. As I mentioned, holistic development, I'm going to come back to that in a second. And two key themes for us, the FA Future Game philosophy, very much about developing young players for the future of English football. Quite often in the media, the England team, certainly if it doesn't perform too well or to the media's liking, and there's always a debate about the fundamental skills and qualities or the coaching that children are getting at a very young age. And this programme is very much about supporting 5 to 11-year-olds to get the right start. Four-corner model. Again, this holistic approach, physical, psychological, social and technical. It's our belief, and I'm sure it is yours as well, and many others, that children and even adults won't fulfil their potential unless they've got that holistic development. You could be technically very, very good or physically very, very good, but you're going to need some other qualities to really fulfill your potential later in life. Physical literacy, teamwork and leadership, really big for us, decision-making, problem-solving, creativity. We want children to have the ability to be independent learners and thinkers, come up with solutions themselves. The way that we coach is not giving the children the answers. Set them a challenge, give them some guidance in the environment to be able to try and come up with the answers themselves. If they're struggling, give them some tips and a nudge in the right direction. Game understanding and confidence with the ball. So the coaches come to us, minimum level 2, FA Coaching Award, minimum youth award, which you may or may not be aware of. We have a new suite of courses which is called the FA Youth Award, which is very much about creating the right environment for children. It's about child development, how they learn, social. It's not so much about the technical elements of the game. Those awards have been received really, really positively, and the skills programme is founded really on that philosophy and those principles. We also give them bespoke training around how children and adults learn, the right environment to create. A massive one, if you speak to any FA Tesco Skills coach, they'll probably say one of the most important things, part of training they've had, is around behaviour management. So understanding why children might behave in a particular way in a session, and actually, that child at the back of the group who's consistently bouncing the ball when you're speaking, that might help them concentrate and take on board the information that you're giving them. They'll probably run off when you say, right, go and have a go, and they would have heard every single thing the coach has said. So it's understanding the children, creating the right positive environment. And then we add things, growth mindset, smart learners. So they get a suite of training, probably minimum of 50 days a year, CPD, formal and informal. Getting more to the theme of this morning, massive training program that we've implemented, which has developed since the program was created, is around delivering in schools, understanding the national curriculum, how to plan and prepare lessons and sessions, reflecting on those. So we've gone through a whole program of training, upskilling the coaches. They receive it nationally together, but it then drills right down to individual coaches getting the support they need on an ongoing basis, and again, bespoke training for them. These are the things that we look at. So medium-term planning, so planning for a half a term for a group of children, making sure that those lessons are planned to meet the needs of the children. They're not just off-the-shelf lessons. Assessment for and of learning, so as I say, pitching the lessons at the right level for the class, but the individual children within the class as well. Across the 4 strands of the curriculum, I think you'll probably be aware that that's changed, the curriculum has changed, and we're just adapting our work at the moment. And again, the coaches will be updated and receive training around the curriculum. Massive, and obviously the bigger the group, the harder it gets, but managing difference. So meeting the needs of each individual child, setting them challenges with them in terms of them having success, but learning and enjoying the experience. You will all be familiar with different learning styles and being able to cater for those, and the coaches go into the detail of planning what sort of questions they might ask during the lessons and the sessions, and then how they'll respond to the questions. So getting into the nub of why we're here, I think, certainly why I'm here this morning, is how do FA Tesco Skills coaches support primary school teachers? Well, I think the first thing to say is that we have a service level agreement with primary schools. Key element of that is that the class teacher is present, they engage with the coach, and before they work together, they work out actually what that relationship is going to look like. Now, we all know that every single primary teacher, their background is going to be different. We're going to have some that might be confident and comfortable delivering PE, but as we've already touched on this morning, we're going to have many that have had limited training. They've probably got really limited confidence. They might have all sorts of skills and ability to deliver really good lessons, but maybe just not the confidence. They'll work one-on-one with our coaches, and when we get into some of the clips in a moment, you'll see James working with the primary teacher. Now, our coaches normally work with a class teacher for 6 lessons. Sometimes it might be longer, but it would normally be 6 lessons. And I think that's a really key point, because we've touched on this morning about not replacing teachers. We don't want schools thinking that coaches delivering PE permanently are the answer. What we need to do is support primary school colleagues in terms of increasing their confidence and knowledge so that they can continue to deliver better, high-quality PE. And I think probably our experience is confidence is probably one of the keys. So they'll agree how they're going to work together, and I'll set the context before the clips in a moment. But they'll go through and they'll exchange information, and certainly I touched on the background, the training the skills coaches have had. So our coaches will share with them how they've planned the lessons, how they're going to take that into the delivery, and then also talk about reflection as well. So there's a real transfer there of knowledge and understanding. Our coaches, some are qualified teachers, but many are not. So we've had to make a real connection between actually where is the value between a coach and a teacher, use some of the similar language, understand the landscape so that you can communicate really effectively together. And what we're talking about is some transferable principles. So we don't leave the teachers with a curriculum, a scheme of work for the whole year. We try and leave them with some principles that they can then apply to their lessons going forward. We leave them with some resources, and teachers have asked for that, so they're there to help them do that. So the resources, we've got some on the website at the moment. We're going to add to these and we'll develop them in light with the new curriculum as well. So medium-term plans, half a term, short-term plans, they're your lesson plans. And then teachers also asked us for some simple games that can help them deliver the curriculum, that are easy to set up if you've got limited time, limited equipment, but actually will engage the children and really give the teacher a really good opportunity to support the children's learning. Okay, we're going to go into some clips in a moment, but just before we do that, the context here is it's the second time that James has been into this school and worked with this class. So it's the second time he's worked with the class teacher. It's a smaller group than normal. The sort of history and the location of the school, teachers generally not that, parents not that quick on getting parental consent forms back. So only half of the class actually provided those. So only half the class are taking part in the videos that you're going to see. Now the teacher, from her own admission, said that PE she felt was her weakest subject. And we'll pick up on sort of one of the sort of key outcomes for her from just the two lessons that she's had with James. So that's the context. She's not particularly confident. There were some other things going on prior to the lesson and after the lesson where her attention, as we know happens in school, teachers need to focus on quite often a number of things at once. So there was normal school life going on before and after the lesson as well. But we're just going to go into the clips and I'll let you watch those and we'll pick up on a couple of points afterwards. Okay, if we can play
So what we've got here, Miss, is we've started with a game that they've all done before, so it didn't take long to get going, because obviously it's cold. It's the game where they're standing opposite each other, and one's got to get to one line and the other's got to get to the other line, so they've got to basically get past their partner and get to the other side. So what I'd like you to do, if it's all right, just have a little wander around, and if you see somebody getting sort of beaten quite heavily, I'll do the same, so that they're not really having a good time of it. We'll swap them, and we'll try and put them with somebody who they can maybe play against who's a little bit more their ability. Now, we might not see any of that going on, that's fine, but if you do see it, then we'll swap them. So we'll just spend the next few minutes doing that, and then we'll get them in and we'll have a chat about some of the stuff. Okay, thank you. Then it's just little bits of information like, if you feel like you're losing control of it, stop it, or you might need to slow down. So go with your instinct, whatever you think they need. Okay. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. Okay. When you get to the last one, there's three of them trying to stop you. So you're going to get from here to... They score it right to the end and then just score into the net. The pitch, yeah, right the way through. So it gets harder as they go along. Now, if it's too hard and no one ever scores, it means you score. Then we might change that and put just two in the far one and one in the middle one. But at the moment, someone scores. So someone's getting through. So what I'm going to ask you to do, Miss, if it's all right, if somebody doesn't get through at all, and they've had about 5, 6, 7 goes at it, I'm going to ask you to put a red bib on them. A red bib? A red bib, yeah. Right. And what that'll mean is they can't... Good stuff. Go and have another go then. So go and grab it back to the beginning. Anyone that's got a red bib on, they can get tackled by Rachel still, but they can't get tackled after that. So they've got a free rein then. Yeah. So anyone that's really struggling, they could make it a bit easy for them. So if you can do that, Miss, if that's all right. And then I'll go and tell the taggers about it. Great. No, it's okay. You can tackle it. In case you see the middle ones tackling. She's. So that's what we're after. She's got loads of success. So you spotted it. Fantastic. She's really happy about it. And now we're going to take it to the next level.
Everybody else, they always go for me.
Right, Brandon, have you got anything that you can show her to help her get past the middle players? Go on then. Yeah, we'll stop him in a minute, yeah. Oh, crikey, it's 20 past, isn't it? OK, class, in we come!
OK, thank you. So one of the things that came from just the 2 lessons with that primary teacher was that in normal teaching, she manages difference and differentiates within the class all the time. And just after that second lesson, that was one of the biggest things that struck her in terms of, actually, I can do that in PE as well. But normally she doesn't have the confidence to do it. But just through that sort of experience, James working alongside her, having the opportunity to watch James lead on occasions, ask questions, and then James gradually encouraging her to be more and more proactive in the lesson, it just struck her that actually I have the ability to do that. I can do that. I do it in the classroom all the time. There's no reason why I can't actually do it in a PE lesson. Now the next lesson, the third lesson, the session is going to be broken down into 3 small pitches and 3 small groups of children. And the teacher will take the lead on one of those pitches. So she's moving from gradually being less involved to being much more involved as her confidence is growing. And then the idea is that at the end of those 6 lessons, then she'll feel much more confident. She'll have the resources that James has left, hopefully picked up on some of those principles which will carry her forward going forward. So that's the theory, that's the model of how we work. It's very much one-on-one, it's bespoke to the teacher, but it's very much on the basis that at the end of those 6 lessons, they feel much more confident in delivering PE. And, you know, I think we all know that if you feel confident about something, you're probably more likely to sort of step forward rather than step back from doing it. I just want to finish off with just some of the sort of feedback we've had, some of the quotes we've had, and we did some research a year or 2 ago, about 500 teachers, and this is what the majority of them told us, that after those 6 lessons, they felt more confident in terms of delivering PE, and the majority of those also said they felt more confident in actually using those transferable principles. And just to finish off quickly, I'm not going to read these out. I'm sure you can read them yourselves. But it's really just some quotes from teachers of the benefits of having that one-on-one bespoke support, moving from being less confident to being more confident with somebody giving them that guidance along the way. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Martin. If you stay right there. Well, I think we've seen there from in Joe's presentation what teachers need, and I think we've seen an example of what one sport has done to help meet that need. We have a number of questions that come in, but first of all, any questions from the audience here? Okay, one right at the back.
Thanks, Shan. We have a question from Ben Boatman from Twitter. Where does Martin see the skills programme in 3 years' time?
Good question. Well, first thing is I'd like to see it in existence. You know, the landscape is that money's tight, and it's not a cheap programme. But I think my job is to make. My job is to make it invaluable, demonstrate the impact. So the first thing is I'd like us to have a minimum of 160 staff across the country, and maybe if I'm lucky, we'll have even more than that.
Okay. We have a number of people from other smaller governing bodies here in the room, and I'm sure others watching online. The FA is one of the largest governing bodies. Tesco is one of the largest, if not the largest, retailer. So the question is, quite simply, how could the principles of what you've done be replicated by a smaller, less well-resourced sport?
I mean, the first thing to say is that we're very much up for sharing and supporting colleagues. I think my own feeling is that we have had a massive opportunity, but the key is what do you do with the opportunity? For me, it's certainly about continuous improvement, continually making the programme better and upskilling our coaches to support others. But part of that opportunity is supporting others where we can. We've already been part of a number of forums and meetings, both Sports Coach UK, colleagues with the Association of PE, of sharing what we're doing and looking to see whether that might add any benefit. I think it's also important to say that we are completely outward looking in terms of learning from other colleagues from across different sports. We have a new team of staff that have just been recruited, and their entire role is to help upskill others. They're going to be starting with initial teacher training. We're also looking to work with the Premier League and the Football League community coaches. But as time moves on, then we'll certainly be looking for skills coaches on that team of staff to work with other colleagues where we can.
Super. Thank you. Any other questions before we... Yes. Do you want to wait for a microphone? That would be handy. And if you could tell us who you are.
Hi, Jimmy from Liverpool Inspire Centre. I understand the development and the fundamentals of what the coaching system that you do, but in what way would that help other people to help them develop their own sport if it's not football? You seem to be more focused on the football side of things, and a lot of other people have sport and backgrounds in other forms.
Yeah, I think the way I would describe it is certainly Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2 in terms of primary delivery. Football is the vehicle. You know, our coaches are football coaches, but a lot of the activities they do, they're not football. The only sort of relevance to football will actually be the shape of the ball. And a lot of the games are actually games that are invasion games, you know, the transferable principles. And we get lots of children who might have had a bad experience of football or actually just don't think they like it because of what they've seen. You know, and some children never played. So, you know, they can use their hands. And a lot of the games, actually, they're not called football games. You know, the King of the Castle. For the children, they're just games. And they're just using a round ball. And certainly Key Stage 1, Key Stage 2, that's very much our focus. As children become more intentional, they're playing in the evenings, then they become much more of a football focus. But very much in school, primary school, it's really transferable principles. You know, it's movement skills, it's game understanding, problem solving, decision making. Just so happens it's a football coach that's delivering that.
So the sport is used as a vehicle for all those skills?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
We've got time for just one more question over there at the back. One more question, and then we're going to take a 20-minute break.
Hello, my name is Wayne Lang from Liverpool. Question, you've got a very large organisation here with a very high sponsorship, yet competition out there to get into the schools is very high. There's a lot of private companies going in there and selling themselves to primary schools and taking all the money away from everything else. How do you counter that?
Everything that the FA Tesco Skills Programme offers to primary schools is free of charge. So I think the first thing is what we're trying to do is add value where we can. I think it's also to say that we don't want to really be competing with others. The landscape is so large. I think the challenge that we've all got in terms of supporting primary schools and teachers within schools is that we all need to work together. I think the key thing for me, and I'm sure everyone will agree, is about high quality. You know, and that schools and head teachers and teachers get access to high quality support. But beyond that, I think we should all be working together to support as many schools, many teachers as possible. We've actually had, just recently, a challenge in terms of a head teacher saying they need to use their premium because we're free of charge. You know, they don't need us to come in. So actually there's a flip side to sort of our offer in that sense. We're going to go back to them and see whether we can still offer them something even though, you know, it's free of charge. So I think for me, big challenge is quality. How do we all work together to help schools leave a legacy of PE and teachers feeling comfortable delivering PE in primary school?
Thanks, Martin. So thanks again to Ali, to Joe and to Martin for the first innings this morning here at Old Trafford. We're now going to take a 20-minute break and we'll be back on stream live at exactly 12 o'clock.